You're welcome back to the Gavel. Now, it's investigation galore in the National Assembly. Both chambers are on course to begin 2 high-level probes, in addition to other probes ongoing at the moment. Here's our report on the investigations. In recent times, Nigeria has had to deal with issues of security and terrorism in varying degrees, a situation that may be tackled if the country has a modern security system. Those gathered here are to help the House of Representatives understand why a $470 million security project that was completed in 2012 is not operational. The chairman of the committee and the chief whip of the House of Representatives speak on the focus of the investigation.
The purpose of the CCTV contract was to facilitate real-time online communication between security agencies to enhance their capacities to fight crime. The failure of the completed projects for the National Public Security Communication System contract has attendant negative effect on the capacity of the security agencies of the country to fight the crime that became very endemic in this country.
Allegations regarding the implementation of the projects of such national security relevance include abdication of effective project and financial standard management and accountability, and weakening of the public treasury by delayed tax payments and suspicious expenditures that have not been properly accounted to government is unquestionably worthy of investigation.
It was then time to hear from some of the agencies invited.
We tried to look into our records to see the nexus between the project and the Central Bank of Nigeria. As I speak, we've not been able to connect it. We're not part of it. We didn't see anything that connected the CBN to the project.
And to date, I think we've paid about 41.28 million as interest payment on the loan. But the principal repayment, that is repaying back the 399.5 million, will commence in 2018. Interest rate is 2.5%. The tenure of the loan, that the life of the loan is 20 years. We have the grace period of 7 years, and that grace period will expire by March 21st, 2018, and that's where we start making principal repayment. All this information is in our submission.
Considering the purported cost of the contract in the sum of $470 million, the contract ought to have been accompanied with a certificate of no objection issued by the Bureau. This is supported by the SGF circular in line with Section 16, subsection 1B of the Act. Without a due process certificate of no objection, all payments made in respect of this project are illegal and the contract is null and void, except if proven that it is a national security.
The former managing director of the Nigerian Communication Satellite Limited, who helped implement the project, however, had this to say.
If it is a national security project, the president has prerogative of approval. The prerogative of Mr. President set aside the entire procurement law. And I'm waiting for somebody to tell me that this project does not qualify to be described as such.
He also gave his position on the project.
The network was powered down because of inability of government to provide operational funds. The video surveillance system that you see is actually 8.5% of the entire project, and to be precise, about $39 million out of the $470 million.
Now, this will not be the first time the House of Representatives will be looking into the matter. The 7th House of Assembly had conducted a similar investigation into this issue. But this committee says they will make sure that they find a quick resolution to this matter and make sure they understand what is stalling the project, but more importantly, to make sure that the project commences and helps the country address some of the security challenges presently confronting it.
In 2013, the federal government, as part of its power reform program, granted Hydro International Nigeria Limited, also called Manitoba, control of a transmission company of Nigeria, TCN. The move was expected to improve electricity in the country and ameliorate the sufferings of Nigerians because of the epileptic electricity situation.
The Senate notes that.
But a federal lawmaker says the management service agreement, which was the basis for the transfer of a TCN to Manitoba, is filled with several irregularities.
Further notes that Manitoba is a company incorporated under and subject to the laws of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and carrying on businesses in Nigeria with FGN and paid in millions of dollars of scarce public funds. Observes that it is a criminal offense as stipulated in Section 20, subsection 5 of the Central Bank of Nigeria Act 2007 for any person or body corporate to refuse the acceptance of the Naira as the legal tender currency for payments for goods and services in Nigeria. Worried that TCN is imposed with this burden under the management service contract of paying all taxes for the management contractors, while Manitoba does not pay taxes on the monies it is paid under the management services contract.
Senator Hassan is asking the Senate to investigate the sale of 10 National Integrated Power Projects, NIPP, by the Bureau for Public Enterprises, BPE.
So far, BPE privatized these power plants, and to our biggest surprise, the total value of the privatization of these power plants was $5.2 billion. We invested $8.4 billion and we're selling these power plants for $5.2 billion. And yet they cannot generate power more than 2,000 megawatts.
Lawmakers who contributed to the debate expressed displeasure at how a government agency would decide to waive $3 billion and sell the projects for $5 billion after an over $8 billion investment.
We must really thoroughly investigate the entire process. How the BPE sold out our commonwealth. For example, the NIPP, of which I was a board member before when I was a governor, our money was just deducted without our consent initially. Then we were called to ratify the deduction. The Senate President knows about it. And we spent about $8 billion to do this NIPP, and they were sold for $5 billion without even taking off. So how do you make this loss? So in my opinion, when we come to the prayers, we must expand these prayers to cover investigation into the entire privatization of the power sector.
We must begin to look into these laws guiding the operations of most of the government agencies, fine-tune them, and make sure that whatever measure that is put in place is punitive to deter agents of government from conniving with relevant stakeholders in any government-related transaction. Mr. President, I believe very strongly that the issue as regards BPE in this regard cannot be overemphasized. Because like Dino has actually stated, it is true that staff, members, and management of companies of this, agencies of this nature places personal interest above the collective interest of Nigerians. And I am of the opinion, Mr. President, that the real reason why we are still yet to undertake to benefit collectively from the privatization in the power sector is that most of the companies who bought even the DISCOs and the GENCOs were not based on capacity, but on the basis of personal interest, on the basis of economic benefits to the operators of government, people who were meant to support and defend the interests of Nigerians.
The areas that have a lot of our distinguished colleagues have spoken about, which is the privatization of some of the companies, this needs to be properly investigated, because for some of us, you wonder, how does an agency sitting somewhere can on its own write off $3-point-something billion without any referral to anybody. It's mind-boggling. Even if you are going to take a decision like that, surely there should be so much level of consultation and collective responsibility.
The Senate directed its committees on power and privatization to investigate the matter and make appropriate recommendations in its report to the Senate.